Joining us now to debate these 5 looming battles between the president and Congress, we have Stephen Cobb, former Deputy Attorney General of Virginia, and Kenneth Vecchio, a GOP strategist and attorney. We thank you both so much for being here to talk about this. All right, I want to keep things moving along fairly quickly because we do have a lot to get through. Mueller himself testifying. Let's start there. Could this be damaging, particularly after the fear of this week and the accusation that BARR had mischaracterized Mueller's findings? Start with you, Ken.
Damaging at the 0.0% level to Donald Trump, damaging at about a 99.99% level to the Democrats, because it is over. It's long over. Robert Mueller chose not to prosecute. He chose not to prosecute not only on the alleged conspiracy with the Russians between the Trump campaign and Donald Trump himself. He also chose not to prosecute for obstruction of justice, period.
Let's move on to Stephen to get Stephen's take on that one.
Well, that's not wholly accurate. Robert Mueller deferred the decision on obstruction to his betters. But one area where I think he and I agree is that Mr. Mueller, being the consummate professional and public servant that he is, I don't think that if he comes to testify would be going there to one-up his superiors in the Department of Justice. I think he would stick to the facts as he has reported, and if people were looking for him to come in and drop a bombshell, I'd be surprised if that was likely to happen. But one of the interesting areas, and the reason why I think this narrative keeps going on, is because the president himself went out and tweeted contradictory statements to the facts as alleged in the Mueller report. So when they interview people like Don McGahn or other people in the administration, and they say, I took notes and I had this conversation, and the president has gone on Twitter to say, no, that didn't happen. Well, then Congress comes in and says, well, we have a report that says it did. Let's bring the people who gave that factual information and let's have a conversation about it. And that might be a conversation really worth having.
We're going to get back to McGahn in just a moment. Let's move on to the second story that we're going to be hearing more about, and that is about William Barr. Will he or should he face contempt for skipping the House hearing? And what do you say to Speaker Pelosi, who claims that Barr lied to Congress and he committed a crime? Ken?
This is absolutely laughable. The politicians on both sides of the aisle have to stop using criminal laws as an effort to advance in politics. There's nothing illegal that William Barr did when he testified. What they're trying to say is that by him not saying that Robert Mueller was dissatisfied, that he somehow committed perjury. I mean, that's completely ridiculous. Is he a prognosticant, a soothsayer? He's supposed to know Mueller's feelings just because Mueller sent a letter saying that he did or didn't like the nature of the reporting done by Bill Barr. I mean, this is semantics at the highest level. That is not committing perjury, and it's a complete misuse of the law. And what Nancy Pelosi did there is dangerous.
Stephen, your response.
In the best case, this was expert political gamesmanship by the Attorney General. They could have gone through the report, made the necessary redactions, and issued it in a matter of days. But they didn't do that. They issued a letter that was picking and choosing from portions in order to have a month full of spin before the public and Congress could review the report itself and make its own judgments.
But Stephen,
I think you're seeing the frustration with that come out to bear.
They gave the accurate, true summary of what that report stated, that there was a choice not to prosecute. Prosecutors either choose to prosecute or they decline. Robert Mueller declined, and there is a no game in town on anything
the decision
on a perjury type action.
To the Deputy Attorney General and Attorney General of the United States.
There's no such thing as deferring it. Prosecutors choose to prosecute or not to prosecute.
All right, let's move on, guys, because we still have 3 more to get to, believe it or not. Former White House counsel Don McGahn, the president says that he shouldn't testify. Can the president prevent him from testifying, and if so, on what grounds? Ken?
Well, this is a dicey legal issue. There's a lot to be said about how much executive authority, executive privilege that the President of the United States has. And I believe that actually the law does allow him, under certain attorney-client privilege type arguments and under the executive arguments, that he could make it so that McGahn cannot testify.
All right, Stephen, your take?
That privilege is largely out the window after he's already given whatever the number was, 36 hours of non-compelled testimony. The time to exert the privilege was before he sat down with investigators, and that time has come and gone.
All right, let's move on. The battle over that unredacted report. Judiciary Chair Jerry Nadler sent a letter to the DOJ today, giving them until Monday at 9 a.m. to respond and comply or face legal recourse. Ken?
Well, I think this is really foolish by the Democrats. It's crystal clear that the Attorney General cannot release the entire report just for the grand jury proceedings aspects alone. So Congress could be guilty, Congress people could be guilty of engaging in a criminal conspiracy if it was released, because then they're organizers in committing a crime.
Let's get back to Stephen. Stephen, your take on that one?
There should be some area for common ground on what a largely unredacted version that can be delivered to Congress that doesn't implicate the grand jury issues that my counterpart just acknowledged.
All right, so here we go. The fifth one and the last one, President's tax returns and financials. I just need a yes or no from you guys. Should Congress be entitled to these? Ken?
No.
All right, that's great. I've never been so short with you. All right, and moving on to Stephen.
Depends. There can be times when tax returns come in to the appropriate oversight for Congress, and that remains to be seen.
Stephen, we have to leave it right there. Stephen Cobb, Ken Del Vecchio.